If you guys followed wrestling this year, if you watched amateur wrestling and you go through the NCAAs, you go through the Opens, you go to the trials, you go off to the Olympic Games, you come back for another trials, we're going to have a final world championship to cap this thing off. Pan Americans in there somewhere, but if you followed wrestling and you came away with the conclusion that Jordan Burroughs is the best wrestler alive, you are not without cause to conclude that. Jordan Burroughs did not make the Olympic team. But if you look at how many guys that did, how many guys that were there, how many medals were won, that Jordan Burroughs had beat that guy somewhere along the way. You look at the fact that it's a very big deal that Jordan has switched to 79 kilograms. I don't know if he could fully get his credit and his due without changing weight. There's something very special about changing weight classes. Most guys don't do it. We're seeing it in the world of MMA. These guys are going this champ business, and it's very real and it's very rare. Generally, a guy locks in and he never moves again. So Jordan Burroughs, many ways, because of his beef with Dake and the switching of the weight classes, which opens up a new chapter, all new parity. You look at who he ran through at the World Team Trials. Alex Derringer is as good of a wrestler as you're going to come across. Period. Hard stop. Derringer, technical fall 11-0, the world's bronze medalist, right? It's hard for Derringer to get out of the country, but when he does, or on age groups or an international tour, he's as good of a wrestler as you're going to see. He's as good of a wrestler domestically as America has ever had. Derringer wrestled Burroughs for 12 minutes over the weekend, and Derringer took charge for 0 seconds. Of 12 minutes, it was 12 minutes of Derringer reacting to Burroughs. They wrestled wherever Jordan wanted him to wrestle. The flinches, the fakes, the contacts were made fully based on when Jordan was ready to. I have never seen Derringer look lost in a match, ever. I saw him lost for 12 minutes. And then you also saw this explosiveness of Jordan. And you run into this question when he's got to deal with bigger guys. Is that explosiveness still going to be there? And he tested this up at 86, right? Maybe you saw the match with David Taylor. 4-4, by the way. 4-4. And Jordan's up 2 weight classes for that. He's 74. Don't forget, it's world year, so there's 79. So he didn't just go from 74 to 86, as your memories might tell you. There was 79. He went up 2 weight classes and still went 4-4 with David Taylor. But we did see at some point that size matters. The question is, what's it going to do at 79 kilograms? We didn't know this. Now, we do have the answer. He was just explosive, but he now gets to be a little faster. Jordan is getting in deeper on these double legs, deeper in these positions than he was at 74 kilograms. And unlike at 86 kilograms, he's still big enough to drive through. And everybody has a number. I don't think Jordan ever thought that his number would be 79 kilograms. I'm not sure that it's not. And if you do go and look at the trials, I mean, aside from Burroughs, who literally missed the Olympics, which is the most devastating thing that's ever happened in his illustrious career, may be the wrestler of the year for 2021, even without going to the Olympics. That is how good he looks. That is how good he is doing. That is how well respected he's going to be when he gets to the Worlds. And even if you do go look at the Olympics, I mean, even look at Sidakov. Sidakov had no problem with anybody in the Olympics. He has nothing but problems when he's on the mat with Burroughs. I mean, I think if you go watch the Olympics and you look at all those medals at all those places at 2 different weights that all tie back to JB, it's a very reasonable conclusion that Jordan Burroughs, including the absence of the Olympic team, can come out of 2021 the wrestler of the year. It is very, very possible. There's one tournament, then we'll have this conversation. But he's in there. And you want to talk about the world trials, go look at what Gizwowski did. Right? It's a very big deal. Gwiz, last time he wrestled Mason Paris, lost. You guys remember that dual meet format they had? It was like a 2-day event. I can't remember who put it on, but it was like this 2-day event. It was a lot of fun. It was a real treat for wrestling fans, but it was like a dual meet format, and Gwiz ends up losing to Gable, but he also loses to Mason. #1 guy in the country, 2-time bronze medalist for the country. Now he's got 2 guys in one weekend domestically. Big problem. Gwiz comes out, he flips that script. And Gwiz had told me at Olympic camp that he's going to do one thing, which is to focus on putting about 20 pounds of muscle on. And Gwiz is all of the weight limit, right? They get a weigh in at 265. Gwiz will get on that scale at 263. He'll get on it 264. He's all right there, but he wants to change his physiology, and it's something that he said he learned by Gable. Because, like, look, I beat the guy a year ago. Now I can't score a point on the guy, and when I feel him, he's strong. He got stronger. I want to do that. So I don't know how far Gwiz is into that process. I don't know. But looking at him and looking the way that he moves, and Gwiz was just doing something over the weekend, was called holding position. And in wrestling, you got to get a guy out of position before you can attack. And Gwiz, very methodical. It's his turn to score, boom, into that high crotch, boom, brings that shoulder inside, starts looking for two, but he keeps his hips low. He doesn't get tipped. He doesn't get crotch lifted. He stopped the opponents from scoring. His defense was on point. And I don't know that Gwiz, if you watched him the first day, I don't know if a lot of people knew how good he looked. He had those close matches, even the match with Jordan Wood. I mean, it was competitively if you look at the score, but if you look at the score, you need to look at how many Wood had, which was 0. Maybe Gwiz didn't go get the 1,000 points that you expected him to get, but he gave up none. People often will miss that in a guy's wrestling. They'll only look at the offense. They forget that there's another side to the sport, which is defense, where Gwiz was perfect. Go look at Fix. And Fix ended up in a jam. Because, and you guys have seen this, where some athlete will come out and wrestle beyond their abilities. They'll go out and they'll compete beyond their abilities. And if they can do it in the first round of the tournament, they will do it for the rest of the tournament. It doesn't matter if that tournament's 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days. If they can come out in their first match and have this wonderful performance, they will do it again for the whole tournament. That's what Tomasello was doing. And Tomasello's a straight-up killer. No question about it. But for Tomasello to cruise into the finals, he only gave up 1 point. He cruises right into the finals, right through Suriano, right through everybody. He was wrestling above his abilities. For a guy that was coming off of an injury, for a guy that was retired 18 months ago, now he's cleaning out his side of the bracket, and now Fix has to go deal with him. If you're a Fix, you're a man, I think I can beat Tomasello. That's not Tomasello. That's Tomasello 2.0, and I don't even think he's going to be here a week from now. He's happy. He's in one of those moments. So Fix has to go deal with it. It turned into some great matches. But it was impressive as you were with Fix. You got to look at Tomasello and say, man, great job, great tournament. What's it mean for Nikki Freestyle? That's another big question. Think Ben Askren. Ben Askren was talking with Pyle on Flow Radio, and they called Nikki Freestyle the man of international mystery for wrestling. Because everybody's going, where's Nick? What's Nick going to do? So Nick came out. Nick wrestled hard. Nick gets outscored. That's probably frustrating for Nick, who did not come through the backside, which is hard for us wrestling fans, right? You get a top guy, you put him in there, and he doesn't play this thing all the way through the end. It's pretty frustrating, but what'd you expect? I mean, in all fairness, we all Nikki Freestyle fans out there want to see him, but it was his first competition in like 11 months. Those just aren't going to go well. You're not going to get your points. You're not going to have good reaction times. There's consequences to being out, which is where the frustration comes when he doesn't get up the next day and come to the backside. For him right now, it is purely one thing: matches. Get matches in. I'm surprised that Nick and his team don't agree with me. Didn't agree with me enough to come back and get those extra minutes in. All right. Move ahead, look at 145 pounds. 145 pounds, Yanni, McKenna, that's anybody's ball game. It's anybody's ball game. I remember when those two met up at the U.S. Open, semifinal round, McKenna knocks him off. Now, that was never supposed to happen. Yanni was supposed to cruise right through this thing. He ends up getting knocked off. I think Yanni came back and got 5th. But it was this big deal that you now know, okay, Joey, is he going to go with anybody? Their very first match, they end up locked up. Yanni's got a front headlock. McKenna's on his knees. McKenna goes to turn this into a fireman's carry, which is a fairly uncommon counter from there. It's like a clinic move. You would drill it. You would look cool in front of a group, but you show me sometime that's ever worked in live wrestling. Well, McKenna goes for it. Pulls the elbow, reaches for the leg, starts to sit to the hip at the exact moment that Yanni decides to roll the front headlock. So now it's a mess. Yanni, of course, is going to get points there. He's in the dominant position and one that we're familiar with, a front headlock, and he exposes McKenna. They challenge this, and the only thing that you're wondering is, are they going to go 2-2? If you look real closely and you know what you're looking for, you can see that McKenna offered offense there at the exact moment that Yanni was taking him through. Can McKenna get a couple of points? Guess what, guys? They take Yanni's off the board. They give him all to Joey. Joey goes up 4-0. So that match is on ice, right? Well, not so fast. Yanni decides to hit a 4-point double leg himself. So now these guys are knotted. Not to mention criteria, right? They both got the force. It just turns into an awesome series. It just turns into an awesome series. And you also see how right USA Wrestling is for putting the finals best 2 out of 3. You got to have it 2 out of 3. You got to. There's an argument to go 3 out of 5. We're never going to get there. But the point being, you got to have 2 out of 3 because these guys are going to pass that hot potato back and forth. And to look at how happy Yanni was to win was a surprise for me. Yanni's won everything you can win in wrestling, even if it's age groups levels, but all the way to the gold for Earth. He's won the Earth Championship before. To see him that excited to break through and finally make a senior team was very revealing for in terms of how Yanni's been treating Yanni inside. How nervous he's been getting. How much he's questioned his own abilities to break through and be able to be the representative. I didn't know a guy as young as Yanni, who's done that many times on age group wrestling, had those internal doubts. But he did. He clearly did. There was a sign of relief when he broke through and finally made the team. I would have to mention for you guys Jaden Cox and Colin Moore and Gadsden and Miles Martin. I mean, it's a real murderer's row up there. But you have a very distinct number 1, which is Cox. And if you are distinctly number 1, when you have that great of wrestlers within the bracket, Ty Walls comes back down. If you are distinctly number 1 in that kind of a field, it's remarkable. And if you can come back from what Cox has had to come back from and endure this year with the weight and the mix-up and the trials, refocus, change weight classes, go out and make a team, have a chance to get everything back, to right all of your wrongs, and you have the courage to step out there and do it, it's worth noting.